all, it's Kate Archick here from Professional Planning Services. Today we're going to go over how Medigap plans work. Whether you're transitioning to Medicare for the first time or if you're looking at different coverage options, we're going to talk about Medigap plans, which are also known as Medicare supplemental plans. If you'd like to hear about Medicare Advantage plans, we're not going to talk about them on this particular video, but we will be talking about them in a separate video. So without further ado, let's get right into Medigap plans. Quick overview here. We're going to talk about what Medigap plans are, the cost of Medigap plans, the types of Medigap plans, and some pros and cons of enrolling in Medigap coverage. So first things first, we like to use the term Medigap over Medicare Supplement because Medicare Supplement is often confused with Medicare Advantage. So you'll hear me use the term Medigap the majority of the time. This is the CMS definition of Medigap plans on this page here. A Medigap policy is health insurance sold by private insurance companies to fill the gaps in original Medicare plan coverage. Medigap policies help pay some of the healthcare costs that the original Medicare plan does not cover. If you are in the original Medicare plan and have a Medigap policy, then Medicare and your Medigap policy will each pay its share of covered health services. Generally, when you buy a Medigap policy, you must have Medicare Part A and Part B. You will have to pay the monthly Medicare Part B premium. For most people, Part A is free. In addition, you will have to pay a premium to the Medigap insurance company. As long as you pay your premium, your Medigap policy is guaranteed renewable. This means it is automatically renewed each year. Your coverage will continue year after year as long as you pay the premium. And finally, in some states, insurance companies may refuse to renew a Medigap policy bought before 1992. So for most people, that's not going to apply if you're transitioning to Medicare right now. So CMS notes that Medigap plans are standardized. In plain English, this means that Plan G with United Healthcare has the same benefits as Plan G with Horizon. The premiums will differ and any added benefits will differ, which is how the different carriers differentiate themselves. Some carriers offer discounts for EFT payments or household discounts if, let's say, you and your spouse are both enrolled in Plan G with the same carrier. These are different ways carriers can differentiate themselves and entice Medicare members to enroll in their plan over maybe the cheapest plan on the market. So as we saw on the previous slide about standardized plans, that was alluding to what I like to call the alphabet soup of Medigap. This is where you start hearing about Plan F, Plan G, Plan N, Plan D, A, B, L, M, N, and so on. The bottom line is the more the plan covers, the more it will cost in premium and the lower out-of-pocket costs while using the plan. Medicare beneficiaries who were 65 prior to January 2020 can enroll in Plan F or Plan C, which covers the Part B deductible, unlike today's plans. But I do encourage you to look at the costs closely because oftentimes what I found is the premium you save easily covers that deductible. So what I mean by that is instead of rolling in Plan F, which covers the $233 Part B deductible, as you see in that row there, if you enroll in Plan G, the premiums are cheaper and it evens out. So Plan G is actually the best choice. So here's a chart of the plans and what they cover. Plan G is the one that covers the most if you were not age 65 prior to January 2020. This chart is from Medicare and You Handbook for 2023. If you'd like to read more, it can be found on medicare.gov. Just search for the Medicare and You Handbook. This here is what it looks like when you choose to get Medigap coverage. So first, you're going to have your original Medicare ID card. That's your primary medical. That's going to pay first, and then anything left over is going to go to the middle card there, which is your Medicare supplemental insurance company. And they're gonna go ahead and fill that gap, which is why it's called Medigap. So Medicare Parts A and B are known as original Medicare, and they cover roughly 80% of medical bills. And the Medigap plans are then provided by the private insurance companies to cover most of the 20% gap that is left by original Medicare. In this scenario, original Medicare Parts A and B are still your primary, like I said, and Medigap plan is your secondary because Medicare is your primary coverage. This gives you the flexibility to seek care anywhere in the country as long as the provider accepts Medicare or the facility. So keep that in mind if you plan on traveling in the United States, you're a snowbird, or you plan to move in the future. You can usually keep the same plan, but depending on where you move, your premium can go up or down. So it's an important consideration when you're first enrolling to take that into consideration because one plan might be better for you if you are planning on leaving the state. It's important to remember that original Medicare plus Medigap only provides medical coverage, so prescription drug coverage must be added separately. The separate prescription drug coverage is called Part D, D for drug, which you may already be familiar with. What this means is that you will have 3 different cards relating to your health insurance. The primary medical insurance will be provided by Medicare. Your supplemental is provided by a private insurance company in the form of Medigap. Lastly, the third portion of your coverage will consist of a Part D prescription drug coverage. So you're going to carry around 3 cards if you enroll in Medigap coverage. So what's the cost really? What do Medigap plans cost? Let's talk about that now. Just like we talked about in our Medicare Advantage video, there are 2 important things to consider when it comes to the cost of Medigap plans. We must look at both the fixed monthly premiums you can expect to pay, as well as the cost of out-of-pocket expenses, which include copays, coinsurance for visits to the doctor, hospital, as well as Part D prescription drug copays. First of all, when you have a Medigap plan, you still have to pay for Medicare Part B. For Medicare Part B, we use the base rate of $164.90 per month in 2023. Feel free to check out our other videos to learn how your income can impact premiums for Part B and D. In addition to your Part B premium, you'll have to take into account your Medigap premium. For Plan G, for male age 65 in New Jersey, you can be looking at about $143 a month to $454 a month, depending on carrier. As you can see here, this is from Medicare.gov, and we're looking at those Plan Gs. You can see the costs, the monthly costs for each of the plans there. First off, when you have a Medigap plan, you still have to pay Medicare Part B. You're going to have that base premium. But as you can see here from Medicare.gov, most premiums range from $143 to $160. There's a ton of companies. This varies based on age, sex, location around the country, and those discounts I mentioned before apply depending on carrier. We can help you explore premiums if you'd like to set up a meeting with us, but now we're going to shift to out-of-pocket costs associated with Medigap plans. We'll go back to this chart I showed you before from the Medicare and You handbook, and you'll see that Plan G covers all Medicare-approved procedures and treatments except for the Part B deductible for 2020. The Part B deductible is $233 in 2023, and this deductible can and will change during the years to come. Usually slightly increasing, but this year it actually went down due to economic factors. Plan N is the next best plan, and the difference between N and G is that with Plan N, providers are allowed to charge Part B excess charges, which in plain English means providers that don't participate with Medicare are allowed to charge up to 15% more than the Medicare-approved price for a service. In addition to those excess charges, for Plan N, you will have copays and for some office visits, which would be $20, and copays for emergency visits of $50 if the visit does not result in admission. The trade-off is that your premium is going to be a bit less than the premium for Plan G that we were just looking at. Let's put it all together now. Part B is going to cost, with the standard premium, $164.90 per month.
You also need to pay the Part B deductible, which is $233 again in 2023. Plan G is for a 65-year-old male. Let's say he picked the United Healthcare plan for $160 that we saw on Medicare.gov. I added in a drug plan using the national base premium of $32.74. I put in some common services like primary care visits, specialist visits, inpatient hospital stay, and physical therapy. With Plan G, they all cost $0, all of those visits. The total out of pocket for the year with this setup would be $4,163.74 per year, not taking into account any out of pockets for prescription drugs. You can compare this here with our Medicare Advantage video, which takes a look at a popular Medicare Advantage plan and how that would pay in comparison to this chart here. Medigap does not come with Part D coverage, so you will have the additional cost for that Part D that I mentioned previously, and as well as out-of-pocket costs related to your prescription drug plan. Additionally, keep in mind that you may be subject to Part D IRMA, that's income related monthly adjusted amount for that coverage as well, if you're a high income earner. This is the Part D IRMA chart for 2023, which can be found on Medicare.gov. I just think it's important to note that if you're making about 123,000 as an individual or 194,000 as a married couple, you will pay more for your prescription coverage on a monthly basis as well. Prescription drug premiums vary, but the national base premium in 2023 again is $32.74. Here's a graphic that shows the Medigap open enrollment. Again, you notice that you must be over age 65 and have your Part B newly activated. This enrollment time is not to be confused with the annual election period that occurs from October 15th to December 7th and is often mistakenly referred to as open enrollment. Medigap open enrollment is specific to you, the individual, and it does not occur again once it has passed. I recently saw an ad that said you can change plans as your situation changes, but only during specific periods such as October 15th to December 7th. Well, it's just not that cut and dry when it relates to pre-existing conditions, which is why we really caution you to understand exactly how these open enrollment periods can work and how they can greatly affect your choices. So just keep in mind, if you are newly enrolled in Part B, that's when your Medigap open enrollment period starts, and it goes on for 6 months. And once that's over, your guaranteed enrollment is no longer applicable. Let's take a look at this next slide to explain further. Now, what many people began thinking about when they're running through the last example is, I'm pretty healthy. I take one minor cholesterol medication. I like the idea of having some dental in the plan. So I'm going to go with Medicare Advantage for a few years and I'm going to see how it goes. That might work out or it might not work out. Let's talk about why your health, not only now, but in the future, is really important to discuss and think through. You can see here on the official Medicare and You handbook, this is a screenshot here. It is noted that the best time to buy a Medigap policy is during your Medigap open enrollment period. That's that 6 months that I just showed you. What this means is that you have a period of 6 months that begins the first day of the month that you are both age 65 or older and you have started your Part B coverage. In reality, this means that you can purchase any Medigap policy regardless of any pre-existing conditions during this time. So if you didn't know this piece of information and you had enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan and then 4 years later, for example, you developed certain pre-existing conditions, and now you wanted to secure a Medigap policy because it's going to be cheaper out of pocket in the long run, you may be declined for that coverage. This is why it's important to understand your Medigap enrollment period regardless of your current health. It's important to remember that once your Medigap open enrollment is over, if you want to change to a different Medigap plan, you have to go through medical underwriting to qualify for the new plan. In this case, means you have to answer a series of questions over the phone
You don't need to perform any in-person testing, so don't worry about that. But if you do have a certain pre-existing condition, you can and likely will be denied coverage by the new Medigap company. But again, if you pass underwriting and you want to change your Medigap plan, you do not have to wait until the annual election period in the fall. Keep in mind that underwriting questions and qualifications can change by state and company, so give us a call and we can help with your individual situation because there are numerous Medigap plans provided by many different private insurance companies. It's important to pick a plan and company that fits your needs
for many years to come. You're not guaranteed to be able to switch Medigap plans in the future, so make sure your initial plan is one that you're okay with having for the long run.
You give us a call and we can help you decide which may be best suited for you.
So we're going to take a look and talk about pros and cons of Medigap. I have some people that say to me that they don't like the idea of having to pay different insurance carriers, one for the prescription drugs, one for the Medigap. And I totally understand that can be a concern for some people, but I don't really think that should be a huge influence over which plan you pick, right? Because the coverage is really what matters. But some people like that. They like to have one payment, and I do understand that. Now, with Medigap, you're going to have your choice of physician, hospital, etc. So you can go to anyone in the United States as long as they accept Medicare. And I think a statistic that I read was that 93% of the doctors in the United States accept Medicare. So that's important to keep in mind. You don't have that with Medicare Advantage, where you're kind of bound to an HMO or PPO network, right? So you can travel within the United States and get care anywhere as long as the doctor accepts Medicare. It's
good for budgeting because you know what you're paying every month, right? There's no surprise bills. You're going to have the low medical costs, especially with that Plan G. You're going to pay your $233 deductible for Part B. And then most things pretty much everything's going to cost you $0.
And then you're going to have the flexibility
to travel, see who you want to see, and you might be okay with those higher monthly premiums. Some people, it's a shock. You have to pay that Part B premium, and then you got to pay something similar for your Medigap and your drug plan. So
it's just
you know what you're paying, as opposed to if you get sick with a Medicare Advantage, costs could be higher.
And again, the Medigap plans do not include any extra benefits, but I am seeing some carriers that are offering extra benefits now, like gym memberships and dental discounts and
hearing and vision discount plans as well.
Finally, I always like to reiterate that although this stuff may seem complex, you're not doing it alone. We can help you walk through the forest. It doesn't cost you anything to use us, and we're happy to help. So if you want to go over your specifics, feel free to reach out and schedule a call with anyone in our office. Our contact information is on this slide. Like this video, subscribe for more, and visit professionalplanningservices.com if you'd like to set up a time to speak. Take care.